All right, so I just pulled up the Facebook Live. Okay, so I see us there. Let me make sure my ability to interact with people is available.
Are you on?
Yeah, I'm on. All right, you ready?
Just posting it to my page.
Okay.
You can go.
All right, let's do it. Welcome to the No Love Podcast, where we decrease tomorrow's divorce rate today by teaching singles and couples alike how to experience love on purpose and not by chance. I am your host, Edward L. Fairley, accompanied by my wonderful, lovely co-host, Michelle Larkin. Michelle, say hi to the people.
Hey, world. I'm trying to get everybody else online, so
Got it. You know how we start.
What's going on?
What's going on? What is new with you? How has life been treating you? What do you have going on?
So I just got back from Florida, so I'm excited. Like I was in Boston on the first weekend of the month.
Sure.
I was in Florida last weekend. I would go into Virginia Beach this weekend. It's been really busy. I have had a chance to actually be recognized in Boston for Queen's Moves and the motivational speaking and stuff, which was kind of cool to be recognized at home, right? You never recognize at home.
Yeah.
And then hanging out with my family I just love my family. So hanging out with my son and my new baby grandson, so adorable. How about this dude just walked out of the yard and around the block? Like he's 1.5. Like we turned and he was gone. I was like, this dude didn't even look back, like nothing. So he got an entrepreneurial spirit, just free spirit. And then love him.
You
And
gave it all that at 1.5. Okay, got it.
1.5. Like I told him, I said, he's the one, you're gonna have to lock the door to the front door. Like he's gonna be like, I just feel like I want to take a walk. So I'm take a walk. And then this weekend coming up actually, which is what I was talking to you a little bit about, is I'm doing a virtual version or a Zoom version of Queen's Moves. And I think that's going to be something I want to offer to the listeners. I have a couple of people. One of my friends has another podcast for professionals in athletics, and we've partnered, and I'm going to do one with her group. And I would like to invite the listeners to go to yumi-connections.com, check on the Queen's Moves tab, and then just register. I will keep you in the loop and I'll let you know. But Queen's Moves is a great session or a workshop to do to get ready for 2020. It's about transition. It's about getting clear. It's about making your next best move, capitalizing on the fact that as queens or the queen piece, right, in the chessboard. So I'm not exclusively women, but as taking the perspective of the queen piece, you have all of the options available to you. You're never really without options, and you need to understand the lay of the land. So getting clear on how to mentally, strategically put yourself in the best position to make your next best move to align with your vision and your goal and your dreams. So if you're interested in this energy right here, all of this, well, and I've been through some things, and y'all are just getting started. We have scratched the surface, but I've been through some things professionally that have helped me to be able to glean some wisdom that I would really like to share. So if you would go to yumi-connections.com and check on the Queen's Moves tabs, register, I will keep you in the loop. But I can do this because Edward has helped me to be a better me. So this is a yin yang relationship. This is iron sharpens iron. This is, yes, we talk about relationships, but relationships are the root of everything, right?
Yeah.
So you're better at relationships, you can be better at other areas of your life as well. And I know I have benefited. So I want to be able to share that wisdom, and it's kind of fun. When you find that thing, like you can do, like you always talk about, like I don't talk about it all the time, but this is my fun thing. Like I can talk about work relationships all day. Like, to the point where people are like, do you ever have fun? I'm like, heck yeah. It's my
so
fun.
please do me a favor. Please spell Yumi. That is
my bad. I will post it actually. I'm gonna post it in the chat, but it's UMI connections with an S.com. And I'm looking at it right now. So I'm looking it up just to make sure. UMI connections with an S.com. And then just click on the Queen's Moves tab. There's more about what Queen's Moves is there and everything. There's a little sample video of what the workshop is like. I have a sample out there. But yeah, you can register right there, and I will get in contact with you and let you know where you can get set up to be part of the Queen's Moves movement, because that's what we're trying to make. Wise people able to strategically make moves professionally to put themselves where they really want to be.
And that's you as an umbrella, M as in Mary, I as in India, -connections.com.
Yes, I just put my email address out there by accident, which is fine. You can email me to Yumi Connections, but my phone just put in the wrong thing. But yeah, UMI.
For those who are listening on podcasts who cannot see this link, I
You
just
know
want to
what?
make sure you have the information. That's you
This
as
is
an
why it's a yin yang. This is why it's
as
a
in
yin yang.
Mary, I as in India, -connections, plural, .com.
Yes.
And then all
yes.
the other information. And she said, click on Queen's Moves, and then you all can go from there to register for the actual virtual event, correct?
Yes, everything is on that Queen's Moves tab of my website. Everything you need to know is right there.
Excellent. Anything else we got going on?
Nope. Nope. I just got off the phone with the dude that makes me smile. And I was like, I can't focus. I can't focus. I cannot focus.
Wow. Okay. Well, keep it up, sir. Continue to make my sister smile. I appreciate it. All right. As far as No Love is concerned, actually, I'm working on a marketing campaign for the app, and also working on the SEO to bump the actual app up for better marketing. The developer of the app, he's been gone for about a week. He just got married.
Oh wow. That's
yeah, so he
cool, and kind of put damper on things, I guess.
No, he sent me pictures of the wedding and everything. Is very, very nice. So he's been off, but he'll be back. He said he appreciates my patience, and he'll be back to update. Right now, what they're working on from the Android version is so that you all will be able to play one another or interact with one another with the game. So if me and Michelle wanted to have the experience together, or you and your partner wanted to have the experience together, you all can share in that same game. Outside of that, again, working on the ability to actually have the board games available. So still strategizing on how I'm going to do that. Definitely want to make sure you all have an opportunity to get a discounted price on the pre-ordered ones before we go public. I think I might have found a location whereby people can purchase them online. So I really don't have to buy a whole bunch, but I think I would have to restructure the size of the actual game. So I have to have a designer to reconfigure the design in order to accommodate their specs. So I'll be looking into that and getting you all updated on that. Outside
We
of
should
that,
play the Queen's Moves game. We should play the No Love game on the podcast one night. Like literally, like in real time, get as many people on to play, and have conversation around the cards that people pick. My bad, you know.
No, you're fine. Speaking of that, I will be reading one of the cards on today's topic. And today's
look
topic,
at us on the same page. Look at us.
Whole frequency type situation we got going on there on the same frequency, because she does not know what the actual show topic is.
No, I tried to get him to tell me and he would not.
Yeah, that's not a thing. She tried though. She got an A for effort.
I did. I tried it.
But today's topic is titled "Words Are Seeds." Again, I'll say words are seeds. Disclaimer: this show will not adequately share the value and importance of words. There's no way that we would be able to share the importance of words in just one show. Matter of fact, I don't even think we'll be able to share the importance or the weight that comes with the value of words in infinite topics, because this is such a powerful topic that if you grasp it, it can literally change your life. So with that being said, I wanted to start with reading one of my favorite cards from the No Love podcast. And it's from the dating phase. And the card reads, "Your negative self-talk is the reason for your negative thinking. Your negative thinking is the reason for your poor self-image. Your poor self-image influences the poor way that you carry yourself. The consequence of carrying yourself poorly is being treated poorly by those you end up with. Back to single. Realize the power of your words and replace your negative self-talk with positive self-talk." I'm gonna read that again. The card reads, "Your negative self-talk is the reason for your negative thinking. Your negative thinking is the reason for your poor self-image. Your poor self-image influences the poor way that you carry yourself. And the consequence of carrying yourself poorly is being treated poorly by those you end up with. Back to single. Realize the power of your words and replace your negative self-talk with positive self-talk." I'm glad I was able to read the card for numerous reasons. One, again, I stress that this is not a game when you download the app or you play the actual board simulation. And this is an example of what types of cards that you will be picking up and reading and forcing yourself to self-reflect on when you interact with this simulation. And this thing called words is so powerful. And this actually came from the interaction that I was having last week when a close associate of mine shared something on the comments, and just one word that he used drastically changed the context or the message behind his response. And just by tweaking that one word, it shifted what the actual meaning or value of what it was that he said. And it's so crazy how one word or one thought or one statement can drastically change the trajectory of whatever it is that you're going through or the situations that you're involved in. So as far as this episode is concerned, we really want to dive in to the importance of words and how much they influence your actual life experience. Again, this show is not going to be long enough or adequate enough to share the value of words, but we want to at least make sure that we're planting a seed of the importance of it in order for you to be able to better shift your life experiences. So I'll start by saying this. Your words are the seeds that harvest your life's experiences. Your words come from your heart, and your heart carries your beliefs, and your beliefs influence your actions. I'm gonna say that again. Your words are the seeds that harvest your life experiences. Your words come from your heart, and your heart carries your beliefs, and your beliefs influence your actions. Before I dive into this topic, do you have anything you want to share? I see you writing already, sis.
I love words. My an illustration of your point was I was just spending some time with someone this past weekend, and they used the term. They had a lot of anger, and they were learning how to process it. But they used the word "I stuff it," and I said, "Are you stuffing it or are you releasing it?" Because whether you stuffing it has one connotation, which means it hasn't left you and it's just sitting in there festering. Mm-hmm. Whereas releasing it means I have processed it, I've acknowledged it, and I've let it go, and it's moved through me and passed. And that giving clarity on that word changed, and it was a visible change, like a physical reaction when they hooked on to I release it versus I stuff it, because I stuff it mean I'm handling it. And that had a different body language to it. And when we started talking and we went through, but aren't you actually releasing it when you acknowledge it? The release brought a full exhale. And I say that to your point, that your words, what you believe oozes through your pores, and it affects you physically as well as intellectually. And I saw a visible action of a choice to use a different word and take the meaning of that word, change the dynamic of the conversation. If I'm angry and I'm stuffing it, it's different than if I'm angry and I'm releasing it. And I just watched it just kind of, oh. So if that's only one slice, that was the thought that came to my mind. I was like, yeah, wow. Like it's a physical thing as well as an emotional thing. And your beliefs are they just ooze out of you. They just ooze out of you. They can't hide from them.
Most certainly. And this, I really don't play with words. I really take them very, very seriously. Matter of fact, just talking out loud about this, it's been a while since me and my wife had, I guess what would be considered a disagreement. And it was probably 2 or 3 months ago, or which was our most current disagreement, so to speak. And it really wasn't a disagreement, but I had to make it clear, like, and it was about words. It was my son, my baby boy, he's 6, and he's at this independence stage where he's literally climbing on the counter just to try to pop his own popcorn. Over the stove, might I add, is where our microwave is. And so interestingly enough, I told her like, we got to really keep an eye on him, because he's at this stage where he wants to do everything. And I want to encourage it, but we just have to be mindful of it so that his safety is not compromised in the process. So with that, I heard him having a conversation about pouring milk, because he's starting to pour his own drinks. Like, we turn around, he has a drink now, and it's like, you didn't ask us for a drink. So he's pouring his drinks, and I heard her tell him that he can't pour his own milk when it's when the milk is full to the brim. And I said, don't tell him he can't. And she was like, well, what do you, I said, don't tell him he can't. Tell him it might be difficult or to ask for help when there is a full picture, but don't tell any of my children that they can't do something. And she was like, well, I didn't mean it that way. I said, I get it, love you. But at the same token, he didn't grasp it in the context in which you delivered it, because all he heard is can't. Don't tell him he can't. Figure out a different way, but don't tell any of my children they can't. And she got puffed up, kind of upset. And I'm like, you could be upset. That's perfectly fine. But do not tell my kids they can't. Say it's difficult, ask for help because I don't want you to spill it. Do all of that, but do not tell my children they can't. I don't even allow my children to say can't. It's not a word that I allow my children to say in the household, because the minute you say can't is the minute that your mind shuts down and does not even try to figure out an option to resolve that particular issue or problem. So don't tell my children that they can't. So that was the extent of our most recent, if that's even considered a disagreement. But that's how passionate I am about
it was an exchange. It was a passionate exchange.
Yeah. Because she was like, it's not that serious. Yes, you can feel that way. That's perfectly fine. But in the end, don't tell my kids that they can't. Because I again, words have it has so much substance and it has so much influence that people just take it for granted and they just say them, not realizing that it's literally shifting or dictating your actions and your beliefs and your thought process and your movement. So with that, I want to repeat the statement that I said earlier, which is your words are the seeds that harvest your life's experiences. Your words come from your heart. Like, they say out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. When you're angry, the stuff that you say is really what's sitting in your heart. And you might say, well, I take it back or whatever, but that has been sitting in the soil of your heart, and it just harvested itself when you got upset. Because character is revealed by circumstance. Who you really are really comes out or how you really feel truly comes out when you're upset, angry, and that's just the fruit of what's you're actually feeling. But that's all a contribution of the words that you shared. Go ahead, Michelle. I see you thinking.
The words that come out of your mouth are as important as the ones that are rolling around in your head.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
and you replace the negative self-talk,
so
right? Like, so it does, like, out of your heart, like, but it's so funny because we keep hitting back on this point. It's about understanding what you're saying to yourself, because that's really an indicator of what you believe. And even if you're not aware of it, it's still happening. You're still getting subliminal messages, whether it was what you were taught as a child or what was the environment that you were growing up in, or taking tag, indicators from society or images or whatever. Like, it's constantly barraging your brain with this information that is rolling around in there. And just like words are seeds that we plant, words are seeds that we collect. And you talked about this a couple of weeks ago, like, you constantly are policing what you listen to. But it's a two-way street. Yeah, we got to be careful about how we express it, but we got to be careful about what comes in too.
Oh yeah, most certainly. And I first wanted to start by talking about words that we say, but words that we say are not always audibly or audible to where you can hear it. It's definitely self-talk as well. And I really, by the end of the show, want us to be mindful of our words, because it's so many people that don't even realize that it is your words that is causing your low self-esteem. It is the stuff that you're saying, well, I could never talk to someone like that, or I can't speak to him, or I can't say anything to her. She's not going to like me. And what you're saying is literally what you are creating as far as an image to that person, as well as to yourself. Michelle, her line has dropped, which is okay. She'll be back ultimately. But when you are speaking, it's imperative that you really listen to the things that you say. So many people are negative and they don't realize how negative that they are with their words, and they're wondering why their actual environment or situations are negative. They literally One moment, please. I think she's back. Their words are literally the actual things that are determining their actions and their views. Like what you say, I remember I was telling, I think I said it on a couple of shows to Michelle that I had reflected on a year prior to a specific year, thinking how that year was so wonderful. And when I reflected on the previous year, I noticed that nothing changed at all. The only thing that changed was my perspective about my circumstances or my day-to-day interactions or experiences. And with that, um, as I stated earlier, like your negative thinking comes from your negative talk, and your thinking dictates your self-image or the image of the environment in which you're in, and your poor self-image influences the way that you carry yourself, and then consequently it causes other people to respond to you in the mirror in which you are projecting to them to respond to respond. Your negative self-talk is the reason for your negative thinking, and with that, that in turn causes you to respond according to what you see, and what you see is based off of your beliefs, and that is what's going to determine your responses, whether it be verbally, whether it be non-verbally. I only see. Oh, I think it's I'm just seeing a delayed version on the actual online. So when you're talking to yourself, like you really need to pay attention to your words. If your words are always negative, whether it be inside your mind or outside out of your mouth, that will determine the way that you see things. And if you don't change that, you won't change your heart, which in turn will change your beliefs and change your actions and responses to things, because ultimately your decision making comes from your beliefs, and your beliefs reside in your heart, which is why I think it was last week or the week before last when we talked about loyalty. Um, loyalty is based off of your beliefs, and if your loyalty is dedicated to that particular person, place, or thing, that is what's going to cause or determine how you respond to that situation. Whereas if you have your own values and morals and principles, those things would be what you would determine your actual responses to, as opposed to throwing in a person, place, a thing, whether it be money, family, into to an equation of a situation to determine how you will respond, or to shift how you would respond. It's based off of what you have going on in your heart, which comes from what you've told yourself or someone else, as Michelle said earlier. Someone has told you, which also dictates what your self-talk is when it comes to decision making or your thought processes. What's going on, Michelle? What you thinking?
I am thinking that it's such a ha- it's so much going on through my head. I was just with a couple that had so much momentum around just being, right, and not taking inventory of their thought process, that they didn't that this conversation kind of fell flat. I was trying to have a similar conversation with them, and there was so much I know that they couldn't hear anything. You hear me? Your face looks
Yeah, it's just showing you. You know how it switches back and forth to show who's talking as opposed to showing both of us. That's what it's doing right
Oh. Let me see if I can fix that. But first, let me make this comment, and then when you start talking,
now.
then I'll play. That's great.
Gotcha.
But there was so much momentum around getting caught up in just being, right, and just living and self-preservation, that having a conversation like this about how powerful your words were didn't even, it took a minute for that to even penetrate, because they just were like, but I'm taking care of me, I'm trying to do the right thing, I'm I am, and I'm like, but what are you saying? Like,
Yeah.
do you realize that you're being you and you're doing you? And I get that you're trying to take care of yourself, but do you realize that what you're saying, the words that you're using, the choices that you make about those words makes a difference to the person that's listening
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how they feel about it. So it took a minute to get them to pause and go, oh, wow, it does matter to the other person. Until you can't, it's about being sensitive. Like you're saying, words are so powerful, but we got to check our momentum. What are we focusing on?
Yeah, most certainly. And like people don't like people, for example, people have these like New Year's resolutions or these diets and things of that nature. Again, I stated earlier that it's not just what you say out loud, it's stuff that you say in your mind. And it's the last thing that you say that's going to determine your action. So you could say, okay, I'm going to start working out next week and I'm gonna start at 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to be consistent. This is the time. This is when this is gonna actually work out. And when 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock comes in, you're like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be cold. Oh my gosh, I don't feel like this. You might not say it in your out loud, but if you're saying that in your mind, that's what's gonna cause you to say, yeah, you know what, I'll start tomorrow or I'll do it later. It's the thought behind the thought and the words behind the words that are going to ultimately dictate or determine your actions from that point forward. So if you are thinking thoughts, that's also just as impactful as you saying your thoughts. So you have to be mindful of what you're thinking, just as much as you are mindful of what it is that you're saying, because what you're thinking is probably just as powerful as what you're saying, because it's usually the thought that's after the word that really determines what you're really going to do. And it follows your belief. Typically, we talk ourselves out of making a move before we even have a opportunity to experience what it is that we want to experience, which is typically change from the current situation that we're in.
Let me ask you a question. Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
How can you tell, or how do you help people tell the difference between what they think and what they believe in, or is it the same thing?
Sometimes they coincide, but ultimately your actions will tell you exactly what you believe. You just pay attention to what your actions will tell you exactly what you believe. I can say that yeah, I talked about several or a couple of episodes ago, where I said that, my priorities are God, family, business. When I was breaking down my priorities to kind of give an example of what I'm loyal to. And it's still going back and forth, by the way. So I don't know if
So
you
you can take the host. I can give you the host back, and you can do it. But it's recording.
Okay. So it's me that would have to do it.
You can. I'm gonna give you the host back.
Okay. So when I was giving the example of my priorities, God, family, business, and I shared that if God tells me to do something, then there's no conversing with my wife about whether it's going to be done or not. It's going to be telling my wife basically that this is what's going to happen. I brought that into play because so many people say that they believe in God, but if God told them to do something, their actions are going to be like, well, that doesn't necessarily make sense with my logic. What you're telling me, like at that time, it was leave your job and trust in me, was what he told me as the breadwinner of my family at the time. And I listened and I moved, but a person that says that they believe and then he tells them to do something and they don't move because they truly believe in that job as opposed to him being the provider, that action or lack thereof is evidence of what you really, really believe. Does that make sense?
It does, because I think you have to think before you act. So your actions are closely linked to your thoughts, but both of them are sourced by what you believe. And you can believe actively or you can believe passively. Like actively believing are what you can articulate. Like I believe in, love, or I believe in this person, or I believe in, the commerce, or I believe in the Redskins being the best playing team ever. Ha ha ha. Joke joke. But anyway, but you can believe those are active beliefs. They're active, and they're cognitive of them. But then there's the passive ones, like I'm not enough, or I'm afraid of failure, or I'm afraid of being alone. Like those ones are the ones we try to control and we try to mute. And so they tend to be the passive ones that are like the foxes that destroy the vine, because they're there. But if we're only focusing on the active ones and what we think we're saying all the time, we're missing the passive ones that are really impacting us, and sometimes in the worst possible way.
That's so true. And Miss Lisa, she said words are very powerful, just like your actions, whether it's external or internal, verbal or nonverbal. We I really can't. I wish I could find a better way to even teach this, because this right here is like the epitome of or the root of so many issues when it comes to this, whether it be low self-esteem, our partners, how we feel about them. Like in the beginning, we don't realize this, and this is what I have to go through with a lot of people who have issues when it comes to intimacy and sex. When I have marriage counseling, where they're saying that the sex has gotten bad, when people say, you have to, the way that you got them is the way that you keep them, or something of that nature is the statement that's being made.
You got to sustain whatever you did to catch them, you got to do to keep them.
There you go. That's what that saying is. But that saying is way deeper than what's being done, because the reason why you're doing that is based off of your beliefs in the beginning. And the reason why you have your beliefs is because of what you're saying to yourself in the beginning. You're saying to yourself, man, she's sexy, or man, he's sexy, or man, I can't, oh my gosh, so you see how she wears that dress, or do you smell her? That's what you're not saying it out loud, but that's what you're saying to yourself in your mind. And because of that, your actions follow that, in the sex, in the feeling that comes behind the sex follows that as well. So and I always had to do this, and their minds are always blown because people are not paying attention to their thoughts. But whenever someone comes to me and they're having sex as their issue, I literally make them take note of what their thoughts are to their spouse or their significant other for the next 2 weeks. That's all I do. I said, pay attention to your thoughts. And I guarantee you that your thoughts that you're having towards that person is negative. You might say, ew, I don't like how she looks in that outfit. Like, you're not saying it out loud, but your mental is giving you all of these cues, and then your eyes match, which in turn shift your beliefs in your heart, and ultimately dictates your actions or lack thereof towards that person. So after they come to that realization, because they always do, they were like, man, I didn't realize how much I said negative stuff about my wife or my significant other. I literally tell them to, okay, now that you realize that, when you hear yourself saying that or thinking that, intercept those thoughts and replace them with what you would prefer to be saying or thinking. And then at first they're like, that is just like, are you trying to brainwash me or whatever? And I'm like, yes, because that's what you did to yourself in the beginning of the actual relationship. You brainwashed yourself into feeling that he or she was sexy or whatever with the words that you gave yourself about that person, which in turn shifted the way that you saw them, and in turn shifted the way that you responded to them or didn't respond to them. So that is all stemming from words that we are sharing with ourselves, whether it's verbal or non-verbal, which in turn is dictating our actions or lack thereof. Go ahead, Michelle. And first of all, before I stop, I'm very proud of myself. I figured out how to get us to both be on the actual picture. So that's a win.
Oh, technical. This is very near and dear to my heart, because I think it goes back to one of my passions, which is making sure that people have the space to be heard and seen and acknowledged, right? So that's very, very important to me. But the words that they're saying to themselves can make them feel invisible, even when they're not. And using your illustration of seeds, right? So seeds are planted, but you don't see the fruit right away.
That's
So
exactly.
there's a whole process involved before you see whether that seed is good or bad, or it's going to bear fruit or it's not, or it's going to pop through there. Like and even after that first pop up of some greenery through the earth, that still hasn't given you a full picture of what this seed is actually going to produce.
Yeah.
So when we are sharing, communicating with each other, and we're talking and we're sharing words, that first reaction, suppose, for example, you shared something, you thought you were going to be mature and you're sharing this open conversation, and the first reaction is, oh, that's interesting. You still may not have seen the full impact of your words because that person may go back and process them and have another reaction. And you got to be mindful if you're using the wisdom of seeing that words are seeds and you want to plant good fruit, that nurturing it means sometimes following up. Like I said, you can say something that you feel like, well, they said yes or they said no, and I left it right there. But a seed germinates, right? Words tend to germinate. You can interpret something differently tomorrow than you did in the heat of the moment. In the heat of the moment, I might be able to take it in, and because I might be angry or happy, and I'm just going, okay, but we all have those words that were shared with us that just sat in the pit of our stomach and just took a root and grew into something different. And I think that is something worth exploring. And I would love to hear your feedback on some of those words that we drop in people's spirit that we don't nurture, or that person nurtures and turns into something that we may or may not. Like it's the can't, like your son hearing can't, you're trying to abort a negative seed early, because if he took it and he germinated it and he held on to it and can't turn into this whole philosophy of life, then you have really put him in a difficult situation. But we do that with people when we're careless all the time.
Yes.
Like, we wonder why in our relationship we're struggling. It's because you dropped some mess in somebody's heart and you didn't take the care to figure out to whether did it land, and did I nurture it, did I prune it? You didn't do that, and so then they're nursing this grudge or whatever, and it turns into something different. Same thing for good though. So I'm not only talking about bad. Sometimes we say really great things.
Yeah, honestly, that's perfect, and I'm glad this is, as you say, the yin and yang thing we got going on here. Seeds are not just being planted in yourself. The stuff that you say outwardly impacts those who hear them as well. So they land on the soil of the ears of the person that you're speaking to as well. And that in turn shifts itself and drops into their heart, which is why a lot of your thoughts have come from your parents, your environment, and your experiences. So most of your thoughts,
your relationships.
Exactly.
They came from there, and you're carrying them into the relationship.
Exactly. So most of your thoughts and your feelings are the harvest of seeds that were planted in you before you got to the place that you're at right now.
You better preach.
Which is why it's imperative that we have this conversation at this juncture where we are as adults right now, because I think mentally we are mature enough that if we are listening to our thoughts and we're analyzing where they came from at this age where we are right now, we can kind of investigate it all the way back to where the seed came from and possibly snatch it out the root as just a poor seed that was planted that is not accurate in its truth.
Can I pause you right there? Because you said something very powerful. You said we can snatch it at the root, which means we have the power, the authority, the responsibility, the capability to prune our own garden.
Yeah, most certainly. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Because and that's why I stress where we are now at our age, because a lot of things that we're experiencing or we're responding to or because of it's because of something that we believed at a young age, but we never reassessed it as adults to actually say, you know what, that doesn't even make sense that I adopted that as truth, and I'm living in that as if it is a truth. Hashtag nine truth. At this day and age. So right now, where you are, especially if you're listening to this show, because I can assure you, if you're listening to this show, especially on a consistent basis, like the Ann Robinson and the actual Tila Walkers, if you're listening, your mental is to better yourself and to self-assess and to grow and evolve. So if you are at that place in your life, this is the best time to research where those thought processes or feelings or those negative things that you're spewing out right now come from, so that when you get to the root of it, you are mature and mentally strong enough to assess it and say, you know what, that doesn't even make sense. Why did I adopt that as truth? And I need to snatch it out right now, because when I got to where it came from, it just came from, for one, someone that was just angry or taking their insecurities out on me. And it's just not true.
I think that goes to your point where the seed words are seeds that harvest your life experience. We literally just unpacked what that harvest looks like, is how you show up in the world and in your relationship. And if you don't like what you see, you have the ability to make that change.
I promise you, if you don't like what you see, it stems from what you say. I promise you, if you don't like what you see, if you start changing what you say, whether it's inside or verbally out audibly to the persons that are able to hear you, I can assure you your whole life will begin to shift and change, because that means your perspective has changed. That means your beliefs have changed, and ultimately your life will change. We lost Michelle again.
That's all right. I can still hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
That's fine. Keep talking.
Okay, but I want to see you.
You silly. You know what happened? I have no idea why my Zoom account is under attack. I don't even want to deal with that. I'm just telling you, it is crazy.
I made
it's crazy.
It's
crazy. This don't make no sense. It just don't make no sense.
But let me read.
If you don't like what you see, it's because of what you say.
Yeah, that's exactly what the last thing that I said. If you don't like what you see, it's because of what you say. Honestly, like a great example. Matter of fact, our relationship, you and I, our relationship, and even those who are listening, this relationship that we're all having right now is just a shift of words, a shift of thinking, a shift of perspective, which in turn ultimately softens your heart and changes your beliefs. So what we're doing is I'm literally we are sharing words that are shifting and actually attacking your belief, your current beliefs, and challenging them to where you have to put it up against what actually could possibly in your mind be, is that, wow, that could be true. And that curiosity can cause for a thinking journey that may very well shift in a new belief. Go ahead, Michelle.
I had this bit, like while you were talking, here's this visual that came up. So there's something very different between a garden or a farm where there has been intentional planting for a particular harvest, and a field or forest where nature just planted it, right? It doesn't mean that there won't be fruit there. It doesn't mean that there won't be greenery and it won't be healthy. But there's something very different about an intentional design planting and harvest than just being able to take fruit off trees that are random, right? So isn't that interesting? In our life, there you can tell the difference between people who have just allowed themselves to grow and have borne some fruit, right? Than someone who has intentionally cultivated areas of their life have fruit enough to share, because what you have an abundance of, you can share. And that's different than just running through the field and hoping I find a tree that has some fruit on it and I can feed myself. But that's how we're trying to help people not wander through life and stumble across blessings and fruit and being able to sustain themselves in the wild. But we're trying to bring them over into a culture kind of civilization where you get to design your farm, you get to plant your fruit, you get to till the land, right? Like that's your mind. Like you get to take your plot of land, till it, take out what you don't want, put what you there, create your own farm, create an abundance, which is wisdom, which is what you can give back to other people, whether it's through your life's work or whether it's through just positive interactions or a very healthy relationship. But what we are curing or addressing or helping people to do is that you are no longer Jungle Book. You are not just, you're not Tarzan just flowing around. We're not like just, bumbling idiots here. Or we're not just accidentally living. We're not accidentally.
Yes.
We have very powerful tools given to us, and words being one of the most powerful tools.
I mean, think about the intro of this actual podcast. Every single week, I start with "Welcome to the No Love Podcast," where we decrease tomorrow's divorce rate today by teaching singles and couples alike how to experience love on purpose and not by chance. You cannot do anything on purpose if you're not intentional about what it is that you're doing. And so many of us just walk and navigate through this life haphazardly without really considering what it is that we're doing. And I get people that I speak to on a frequent basis that get so frustrated with me, but in the end, I can tell that they appreciate it because they're like, I just don't feel like thinking. And I'm like, well, the only way that you're going to...
different than when you have a civilization trying to come, and this is, I actually have a question. I have a question.
Right.
So it's like colonization. But I have a negative impression of colonization.
I feel you. You see what I'm saying? That's a great analogy, and I'm intentional about being a colonizer right now. But keep going. I feel what you're saying. I can assure you, I agree with you. Keep going. Keep going though.
But we tend to reject. I'm gonna say culturally, we tend to reject being colonized because it has this tone of taking over and subduing, right?
Yeah.
But if we're talking about, say, kingdom colonizing, you're empowering. You're not subduing. You're empowering. And colonization in this time. So I guess what I'm saying is that it hurt my spirit to say colonization, which also means that I'm probably a little. The idea of you coming in, and I had this experience with you, and you know it. The idea of you challenging my thought process, I was like, I don't need you over here in my mind space trying to tell me, even though I wanted to be a student, but I still was like very like, I don't need you. But I think that I'm interested to know how you take that, because it really is what we're trying to do is take a undeveloped area and develop it.
I don't take that as an offense at all. Matter of fact, I think it's a compliment that you've come to that conclusion, because I literally am trying to colonize your minds, but from in the context of the meaning of the word colonize. And what I think happens is, as people go on this journey with me, and this is all No Love is where the submission comes from is when they realize that I'm trying to colonize them to become kings and queens themselves, as opposed to you being subjects of me as a king. I am just trying to colonize you to have a king and queen's mindset so that you can now make your life and your life's experiences subjects.
Yeah, like I'm giving you the plot of land for you to do what you need to do with it. All I'm just letting you know is that we get more out of the land if we parcel it off and use the tools that were given to us to really get a bounty out of the land instead of just letting it be green.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about it is the way that people are being taught. It's so crazy how people fight for freedom only to be enslaved. Because they're fighting to maintain something that's actually enslaving them, when in actuality, what I'm trying to teach them would liberate them from what's keeping them in shackles. Like the whole generalizing male and female, and the man is the provider, the woman is the I can't even like
it's not in your vocabulary.
I don't even like give me something to work with.
There's no roles.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying. Okay, so nurturer. The woman is the nurturer. The man is the provider. That whole thought process and philosophy, which actually strips you of being a man that can be a nurturing father or male, and a woman that can actually go out and take care of her own business and provide for herself. Not to mention, God forbid, you never marry. What do you do now? or you get a divorce. What do you do now if you're the man? Oh my gosh, I can't nurture my kids. If you're a woman, oh my gosh, how do we eat? I can't provide. Like, it doesn't make logical sense to adopt these thought processes and theories. So, but people fight for that belief in that truth that was planted as a seed years ago that just does not really make sense. It might have when it was presented, because that might have been the lay of the land, but that seed doesn't work in this type of fruit anymore, because people have evolved into, let's say, rights, women's rights, to where you can have a job, to where
equal pay, equal labor.
like the evolution of just life in general, the harvest that has happened from people taking the steps to actually have their place in this world that does not align with what people have boxed them into as far as what they think you can or cannot do. So I welcome and I take the whole colonizing or colonizer a statement as a compliment, and I don't take offense to it at all.
I do see the value in cultivating the land that you've been given by planting seeds and words that allow your natural skill set to blossom, because you want to bring your best self to any relationship. So you want to know what fruit really does well in your soil. You want to know, like what seeds that you produce from your own fruit are absolutely able to be shared, right? Like, truly, like, fruit reproduces itself by creating a seed within itself. So if I can cultivate good fruit, and I can harvest that seed, I can share that seed with you, because I know for sure. I know that love has a positive, it's soothing, it's a balm, it's empowering. I know that fruit, then I can share that fruit. If positive thinking and sharing, say, affirmation, if I grow that fruit and I affirm myself, it's much easier for me to share that fruit with someone else, because I have learned how to grow it and cultivate it. Then I can share it with someone else.
Yeah, I mean, I love how these shows coincide with one another, and they just link to each other and just draw this long thread that connects everything together. The triangle, the love triangle. It's just like when I was saying a couple of episodes ago, how I've never asked my children or my wife for a favor that they did not without thinking about do for me, or like do without some kind of attitude, because that is the type of seeds, whether it be physically or indirectly or from the words that I shared, that I plant in my household. So it yields me that type of fruit when I make that type of a request. And it just makes me think, literally this morning at 8 something this morning, my daughter texted me, "Oh yeah, Dad, I got a 98 on my science test because we were talking about that earlier in the week. And she texted me 98, and I got a 98 on my science test. And my response was proud of you, but not surprised. And she texted me back with just these, she said, thanks, and these loving eyes emojis. But like you said, affirming. I affirm my children, and that's my way of saying, like, I don't expect anything less from you. Like, do you know who you are? So I'm proud of you, but I'm not surprised that you've succeeded, because that's just who you are. So I don't have to say good job, you're great, but I'm saying that my value or my thought process of you is really, really high. My expectations of you are high. I could say wow, but who you are to me, this is not surprising to me.
Yeah, but here to your point, right? And that level of trust and connection it is affirmation, but it doesn't require ego stroking. Affirmation and ego stroking are a little bit different. And so I think we tend to depend on ego stroking when affirmation comes in a lot of different ways. So I was giggling when I got on this call, right? Because I was like, I just talked to my friend, blah, 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 right? So, but it wasn't even a conversation about, oh, you're cute, I love you, blah, blah. It wasn't that at all. It was just connection, right? And that just brought joy, but it didn't require a whole lot of ego stroking and you're awesome, and I think you're awesome, and you're awesome, and I think you're awesome. It was just, how you doing? How was your day? I'm getting ready to go. I got to go. Like, that to me is connection, but it's affirmation too, because it affirms that this person truly wants to talk to you because they called. That is affirmation. But ego stroking is like the counterfeit that we get addicted to.
Yeah, most certainly. And it's really, really dangerous, because then you seek that validation. That's why I like my kids. I know a lot of parents and stuff that do the whole, well, if you get an A, you get $20. You get a B, you get 10, and all that stuff like that. Like, my thought process and teachings in this household is you do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Don't have any expectations to come with doing the right thing. You're supposed to just do the right thing. Don't look for some type of reward, because that's why people are, or especially this particular generation, they have this expectancy and this air of I'm entitled to having, because they're always rewarded for doing what they're supposed to do. So every time they do something, they're looking for a reward, which is why love is so twisted now, because it's like, I did this for you. Why didn't you do what I expected back? And that's why love gets so twisted and distorted, and people don't know how to do it, because they have now shifted this thing called love into what really is manipulation. And is doing things to get rewards, which in actuality is not love at all.
Okay, so let's take that to the seed analogy. So it sounds like what we're saying is they're planting seeds just to get the harvest, right?
Oh yeah.
So they only want to pick the fruit. They don't want to nurture, grow, fertilize and all the other stuff. They just I want to plant my seed, and so when's the fruit coming?
Which is why it doesn't last, because they expect the seed to harvest.
They pick it too soon. They pick it and it's bud. They don't even wait till it's full
harvest in the season that they planted it. So it never happens, and this is why relationships end early. Fruit. And you go to another relationship and you do the same thing and you don't get the results, and you try again and it doesn't work, because you've never allowed for the seed to actually finally die, gain a root, and then
let me tell you
harvest
something.
or grow.
I just planted a pepper plant, and I don't grow plants, but this is funny. So I just planted a pepper plant on my patio, and I'm just watching this, and I'm like, I'm so happy because it's green and it's like tall, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a little pepper out there, like it's this big, and I'm like, I could pick it because the pepper blooms, but it probably won't taste the same as it will when it's like a full, pepper. But I'm like laughing because we adults, even in relationships, see the pepper, we go running like, oh my God, see, I gave all this in this relationship. Oh, let's get married, right? Because the pepper, like we got a little piece, and we're going, oh, let's harvest that. And you're like, no, man, it's not even finished. Like it's not finished. So I just went through this like in my 3-4 years of cultivating a real honest relationship. I was like, but when are we picking the fruit? Like I see the fruit, but it wasn't ready. It wasn't ready.
Yeah.
It just wasn't ready. And it wouldn't have tasted as good if I got it too early. It wouldn't have tasted as good.
I see my little brother looking in, Cameron Carrasco. I'm so excited. He is getting married this Saturday. I will definitely be there.
Congratulations.
I'm truly excited to see my little brother get married. I will be there. I can't wait to see you. Love you, sir. I'm extremely ecstatic for you and your missus. And then my other little brother, who is his brother, is getting married the beginning of next month. So a lot of weddings. Congratulations to Elon and Christina Kennedy. Now just went to their wedding. So a lot of love going on. Just wanted to shout him out really quickly because I saw him watching. But this topic again, this can go for hours because in even days, because words are like they are the seed that harvests your life experience. I cannot stress that enough. The words that you choose dictate the life that you live and the experiences that you have and the things that you see. Everyone that is making their decisions or conclusions about what it is that they're looking at is because of the words that dictate the beliefs that's in their heart. And that's just what it is. Before we conclude, I want to hear your final thoughts, Michelle.
I actually am excited. My mind is running. I think it's really cool because it's challenging me to even filter my experience through this conversation and realize how I have learned not to harvest before it's mature and be patient in my life with the words that I share, not expecting an immediate response all the time. And watching and also as I receive things that people plant into my life, allowing it to grow, including relationships, to get to a mature space where they taste the sweetest, they bear the most fruit, is the most enjoyable, rather than rushing to plant and keep checking, or plant and pick, the sprout. This, I don't need to have bean sprouts. I can have a full bean if I just wait a little longer. So it's a great context for reflecting on how much growth I personally have experienced and how in areas where I can even continue to grow more.
That's good. That's real good. I was talking earlier. Remember, I was several years ago. Remember, I told you about that year prior to when I realized that I thought I had a better year or a great year, but when I reflected on the year prior to, it was the same as a previous year. I just had a different perspective, and that all stemmed from what I was telling myself throughout that particular year, which in turn shifted my perspective about my experiences. This show, again, I wish I had a better way to format or teach it, but your words determine whether you have low self-esteem, high self-esteem. Your words determine whether your sex life is great or it's trash. Your words determine whether your interactions between your spouse or your partner is great or not great. It is the epitome as to why you have a wonderful relationship in the beginning, and it then shifts because your thought process and your words that you say about that person shift. So if we're not mindful of our words, we're not mindful of where our relationship and our life is going. And as I stated earlier, your words are seeds, and your heart carries your beliefs, and your beliefs determine your actions and the outcomes and your perspective of life. So if you want to change your beliefs, i.e. change your viewpoints, your thought process in your life, you have to change your heart. And to change your heart, you must change your words, and that will change your life. With that being
Amen.
said,
#9.
as usual, I can't stress to you all enough how I appreciate your minds and time. You all do not have to be anywhere. You all choose to come and sit with us for an hour, hour 15, hour 20 minutes, however long we go. Even when we have issues with our technology, you all sit, stick it out, wait it out, and you all are taking a ride on this journey with us because you all are interested in just evolving in this thing called love. And I ask that you, through this platform, whether it be through your shares and or just meditating on the things that we are sharing, assist in me colonizing the world with love. Again, I take that as a compliment, and I take most things as a compliment, because when you get to the context of it, if you're coming from a loving place, there's not many things that would offend you. But again, I ask that you all assist in saturating the world with love, and the way that you can do that is by sharing the apps, downloads, sharing the podcast, sharing the YouTube channel, sharing your thoughts and things that you want for me to discuss in more depth. If you have personal comments, I appreciate the inboxes that I get on Facebook. If you want to email me directly, that is No Love Inc. KNOWLOVEINC @gmail.com. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me what you would like to see more of, so that we can make sure that this place is a place that's comfortable for you and assist in the evolution of you in this journey called love. Until we meet again, you all be blessed. Take care and have a good one. Peace.
Bye, y'all.